I am getting set up here at Instagram and at YouTube. I'm so very grateful as always. I am getting set up. Here we go. As always, to be here with you, dear community. Oh, and as I had mentioned last week, I am going to do my best to allow these 4DTs now to be very succinct. If this is new for you, welcome. I am Tuesday May Thomas. I do have the AC unit on, so I pray that you can hear me. If not, send me a shout out in the comments and I will raise my voice a little bit more. This is 4D Trinity. This is my weekly live stream, and it is here that we align ourselves with fourth dimensional consciousness through the unity of mind, body, and emotions with spirit. And what is spirit? Spirit is that divine force, that divine animating force that is love. I'm going to call it love. If you have something to share on what you think it is, please let me know. For the sake of today's communication and topic, AI and 4D consciousness, it is important that we do understand, though, that this message of fourth dimensional consciousness is rooted in love, is rooted in the feeling realization of us embodying and invoking our full multidimensional presence and remembrance. And it is through this invoking, embodying, creating the correct conditions for us to body, to be that body, to remember our power in and as love, that we bridge heaven on earth. And that's what fourth dimensional consciousness is. It is that realization of heaven on earth, and that it exists within us here, now, and always. That it is in fact the root foundation, the root principle of all creation. It is the plank position. Love is the truth upon which the entire backdrop of this universe, of this matrix, is built. So we're going to get into that and how AI applies and how it is related to that. So thank you everyone for hopping on. There's already folks hopping on Instagram. I'm going to say a little hello here. Sujan, blessings. Thank you so much for saying hi. Blessings, and thank you for hopping on and for all of your support. Namaste, brother. Namaste. So I'm going to start, first of all, by saying thank you to all of the new subscribers at my website. When you do subscribe at my actual website, TuesdayMayThomas.com, you receive my monthly love letter, which is my monthly blog, plus all sorts of extras that only subscribers have access to. And you can do that by my link at the Show More box down in YouTube, and also at my main page at Instagram. And thank you all of the new followers at Instagram. Everything I share here is guided, is totally guided. I'm going to say by God. As you know, if you follow me, there's just been this divine relationship, which I'm going to tell you a little story of here. And it's going to bring us into the AI. This divine relationship with God. And we know here at 4DT that God is love. And we understand also that God is a verb. It is not a personification that has gender. But that what we're doing is we're understanding and exploring a new way to consider this level of consciousness that is love. And we sort of wrap it up in this realization of this 4D, of this Christ connection, of this realization that that second coming, and I know this sounds kind of biblical, but you know, the sacred texts speak to this, that it is our true seed being, we are already inlaid with that Christ consciousness, with that ability to love, to receive love, to be a conduit and a channel for that most high, for that divine intelligence to channel through us, and for us to have that experience. If we were to ask ourselves, and I invite you to ask yourself right now, what is the highest vibration in the universe? What is the highest vibration in the universe? You know, what would we say to that? Right away, without even thinking, there is a sense that it is love, that the answer is love. And when we say love here, what we're speaking on is it's that aspect that we call here the trinary, that is activated in the trinary. That is the love and only love, where there is no opposite to love. Here in the 3D realm, in the binary system, we're working within the paradigms of polarity and of duality, where love or fear, love and fear are always working in opposition to each other, and we learn how to straddle our way. We learn how to navigate our way through those paradigms of polarity. We learn and are given stories that are all rooted in polarity. Do this because of that, don't do that because of this, etc., etc. All the stories we're told. And that's all in the 3D. That's the grid, right? That's the grid matrix of collective consciousness that we are learning to be a master of, not to merely exit the matrix, but to master the matrix, okay? So, and while we master the matrix, we learn that we are a light body. We learn how to feed the light body, and we learn how to starve the tar body being the shadow, the darker, denser, fear-based realities and constructs that we hold in our being as memory, that we hold in our being as the past, and that we project into the future. And these are timelines that are linear, that are rooted in the grid matrix of collective consciousness as we are learning to explore it, as we have been taught about it, or if we don't know, that I'm going to introduce to you for your consideration. So again, if we ask ourselves, what is the highest vibration in the universe? We might call that love. We might call that a divine intelligence. There is a divine intelligence that love and only love contains, that love and only love radiates. And when we allow ourselves to align with that presence of love and only love, that is when we surrender into the now moment, where we drop out of those quantum timelines, those parallel dimensions of past and future, of all those probabilities, and we drop into the absolute knowing that is the now. And remember that the word now is contained in know. So to know thyself is to now thyself, okay? And when we know ourselves in the light of love, and as a spiritual being, we know a part of that is healing our lives, to know thyself. That's when all of those quantum timelines of who we were, of who we think we're supposed to be, of all the stories, those disappear, and we are left in the now, in our pure sovereign truth, in the spontaneous divine reflection of the Most High love, where it can come in and create miracles on our behalf and on the behalf of those in our presence. So that said, AI, we're going to get around to this whole idea of this artificial intelligence. And we're going to be weaving in aspects of the Akashic records. We're going to be weaving in stories. So this week, and I'll have to come back and put the link down at the show more later on my YouTube. But this week, myself and the BFF were watching an interview with a native elder on YouTube, some lad's podcast show. And it was very interesting because he said a lot without saying a lot. And the takeaways were kindness, the practice of kindness, the ongoing practice of kindness, and how that just creates and generates and perpetuates a whole ripple effect of experience that without kindness would not be there to that degree. But now something he also said that was very interesting to me, that connects us with our AI, with this whole conversation today, is this idea that stories, natives and elders and those ancient cultures that do have stories of wisdom that are rooted in love, when we hear those stories, it does something to us. He was speaking on that level, on that domain, that when we hear these sacred, wise tales, that there is an activation of DNA. And in fact, I wrote down what he said, so I want to quote him so I'm saying it correctly. And again, make sure the AC is on. It's getting hot out here in the desert. I live in the desert, and it's already been 100 degrees this week. So I've got the AC on. If you cannot hear me, let me know and I will speak up. But he said that the stories contain a vibrational language, right? And it's this vibrational language that tingles our DNA, that awakens, that activates a level of awareness and of knowing, of wisdom that is rooted in love within all of us. And so when we hear these stories, we pause, right? We relax into that now moment paradigm where we're like, oh, and things start to click, things start to connect, calibrate, other things start to disappear, and other things in our consciousness become available. Thank you so much for saying hi on the YouTube. Blessings and welcome. And so as these aspects become available to us, there is a healing, there is an awakening, an awareness that becomes activated. So I'm going to tell you a personal story that I just went through last night. And again, as you know, I don't want to scare you with the God word. God, I say the word God a lot. It is love and only love. It is the presence. It is the feeling, realization of love without an opposite. Okay? God is a verb. That's what we teach here. So it's that feeling, it's that experience of unity. Okay? So understand now, in this past year and a half, it's almost been 2 years. You all know, if you follow me, that we all come from our healing stories, right? All the crazy that we've been through to get here to now. To get here to now. And I've shared a lot of my story. If you want to follow my story, subscribe on YouTube. I'm keeping a grid mind science log. Just a side note, I'm making a film, a metaphysical movie, all about the grid matrix of collective consciousness and how, when we learn about it, we can use it to access it, to heal our lives. I have done that for myself, so I know it works. I've worked with this with lots of other people, and it's just exciting because it's time. If you want to follow that journey, I've got a grid mind science log at YouTube, a playlist there you can watch, and also I have at Grid Mind Science on the Instagram if you'd like to follow. I appreciate your support of all of that. But we're going to just keep talking about all of these conversations. So I've been, in this past year and a half, 2 years, if you've been following, you know, I've given my life to God. I've given my life to love. And with that, tremendous healings have happened in the aspect of who we think we are. Who I've thought I was has just been cleansed and cleared and purged and squeezed out, leaving only those traces of what is that truth as rooted in love. And now this does have to do with the AI, so stay with me, right? So what is rooted in truth and dismantling, the more that I surrender to love and only love and say, use me, you know, show me where to go, what to do, use this body, use these divine creations coming through, use my voice, my thoughts, my vision, everything, my hands, use me. Well, what's happening is I'm getting used, and some parts of my tar body, the shadow, the resistance that wants to do it its way or control the situation, the outcome, etc., is having a very hard time with that. So it's been this situation, this occurrence that has been happening over this past year and a half, 2 years. Well, the thing that happens is that, you know, as we heal ourselves in our lives and we meditate daily, we do our root practices that keep us in tune with love, with light, with source, with God, with the truth, is that we're invited then, when we say use me, or we pray for the most high love to be a part of our lives and say, you know, I am that instrument. Well, love's going to come in, God's going to come in and say, hey, okay, kid, here, do this, you know, it's going to guide. Or you may hear that as the Holy Spirit. You may feel that guidance come as your higher self, where you have these divine notions, these intuitions, these hunches, this guidance, this system that's rooted in spirit and love, that's driving you like your spiritual GPS. Well, we can either listen to that and honor it or not. And so I'm going to put all this in a bubble of light, and it's personal because this morning in my meditations, I was crying like a baby because of the healing. It is so beautiful. And again, yes, this links into AI, and it links back to that native storyteller that I was telling you about at the beginning, that talks about how stories rooted in love, rooted in truth, rooted in wisdom, contain vibrational, the language in the stories contain vibrational power that activates and tingles the DNA to a new level of awareness, of awakening, of healing. So here we go. My little story. There's a dear woman, I'm going to call her Brenda. There's a dear woman who I've known for a couple of years now through my mother. This is all in a bubble of light, and we still have to enter the sacred rose quartz crystalline cave. So actually, let's do that now. Let's do that now. I'm getting ahead of myself. So we imagine that we do this work, the conversations we have and all the energy we share here at 4D Trinity, we imagine that we are in a rose quartz crystalline cave. So let's take a moment and do that now. We'll take a breath. And dropping into this now moment, acknowledging the sacred space that we hold, that we carry with one another. We enter the domain of this clear rose quartz crystalline cave, and in this sacred space is where we commune as our higher selves. We transmit, we heal, we enliven, we activate, we calibrate, we align with the most high love. This is where we do the work, and we thank this cave, and at the end of our time together, we will leave this cave. So we thank you, the sacred and holy space, for holding space for this transmission of energy and the conversation we have here now. Thank you. We call in our angels, our guides, our animal totems, all those light beings who love us, ascended masters, loved ones who have passed from this life. All of those light beings who love us unconditionally, we welcome you to hold space for the Most High. May I commune and converse and communicate those aspects and ideas that truly serve the sovereign spiritual growth of myself, and all guided to participate. And so it is, and so it is. Okay, thank you for joining me in that little prayer at the beginning here. So this idea, and thank you everyone for joining on Instagram. I'm so very grateful to see you here. So this idea of this story, so I've known this woman for several years through my mother. She has been there as an unconditional source of love and light. When a very dear person in my family passed away in this last year, she opened her home for our family to have a little memorial at her home. She's always there. When myself and the BFF got evacuated from our home because of the flood that was going to happen nearby, she took us in. She's just a beautiful soul. So it was her birthday week this week, and my mother is a friend of hers. Now, we've done a few little birthday things. We did a little birthday thing on the Easter weekend with her and with my mother, and just hanging out and acknowledging and honoring and giving the card and guided gifts and whatnot. And now there was another thing that my mother kept trying to set up, which was this dinner for this individual, for Brenda. So we're going to call her Brenda. And it kept going back and forth, the communication, and there was no clear communication of a solid what we were going to do. And this is last night. Now, this is a story, though. This is a grid between myself and my mother, is this miscommunication where I think she's saying one thing, she's saying another thing. She thinks that I've understood her. I think that I've understood her, but we don't. And then we misconnect. And this happens all the time. This is all in a bubble of light with my mother. So this happened last night. Myself and the BFF, we get ready. We go to meet where we think we're supposed to meet. Brenda and my mother, we're waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting. There's no one there. We're calling. We're knocking on the door. We're driving home. There's this phone call from my mother saying, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "Where are you? What are you talking about?" And anyway, so this is the point. This is the point, is that in that moment, while we were pulled over and having this conversation on the speakerphone, meanwhile, the guys are bringing the little cake to the table. There's the restaurant guys are singing happy birthday to this lovely woman who we missed because of a miscommunication. We were at their house instead of at the restaurant because of this miscommunication. We're pulled over at the side of the road, and all I'm doing is I'm feeling pissed at my mother. And I'm just like, man, this freaking miscommunication thing again, because I really love Brenda and I want to be there for her. Meanwhile, though, right, I'm darting the negatrons at the mom. And I'm like, fuck, And we're on the phone, and I'm not listening to God, you see. You see, when you give your life to God, when you give your life to love, you're saying, use me, show me. Higher self is the intermediary, the guidance system, right? Now, I was so transfixed in the past, in the grids of the past, related to myself and my mother, of how much conflict there has been through our miscommunication over my entire life, that I was not hearing the voice for God. The voice for God, but I could hear it, but it was very silent in the background. The voice for God was saying, just go now. Just go now and give Brenda a hug. Just turn around and go. But I was so in with the old story, with the paradigm with the mother, is that I didn't hear the voice for God. It was an odd communication on the phone. The guys are singing happy birthday. We're hi, I'm sorry. And we hang up and we come home and I feel like crap. And I'm praying right away. And I'm like, okay, what happened there? And God's like, yo, I told you what to do. Like, God really talks like that, right? I don't know how your God talks to you, but there was a very clear, and I knew it. And I was like, oh. And you see, when you become more and more conscious, you can't just ignore those things anymore, because you become impeccable with your energy. You become impeccable with your word, where you put your energy, your intention, you're on purpose, you're living in purpose. Yet I ignored it. And so there was this great lesson for me that was rooted in, I was not listening to spirit. I was not listening to that divine guidance system that was there. It was in the background. It was quieter than my voice of anger towards this old story that really doesn't have anything to do with Brenda. Let me just move that to the side and go around that, let that go. But no, I let the other thing rule me. Okay, so thank you for listening to that little story. May it have sprinkled and tingled your DNA. Maybe it activated some kind of a memory continuum within you, where you've also had that experience of oh, I've been in that situation. I knew better, or I had a feeling I should have, could have, would have done things a little bit different, but instead I listened to my own emotional, my mental, the pattern. I listened to the pattern that is rooted in fear. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about AI. Okay, and the grid matrix of collective consciousness. AI, artificial intelligence. Now, and I am not a scientist, believe me, I am just beginning my journey of whatever all this AI awareness is. So There's a lot of intuition. There's a few teachers that I've watched online, but really, I really like to allow the divine, right? The divine, the spirit, the God, the love, the source to infiltrate, to gift the divine inspiration of how to speak on these topics. So artificial intelligence, right? I'm going to speak from the best of whatever I've gathered here. This is this notion that this intelligence that is artificial has been created from our minds. And what is our minds, right? We use this to talk about it, to think about it. This snapshot is a picture of the grid matrix of collective consciousness. It represents all of the threads of thought, of mind, of feeling, of emotion, of definition, of contracts, of sacred contracts, of agreements, through all time, space, through all dimensions, through all languages in this universe. And specific to this world, this grid is specific to this world. And as such, this is the grid, this is the matrix. This is the matrix that we're plugged into. These are the stories that we're told. This is our beliefs, this is our patterns, our addictions, the way we do things. This is the past and the future. It's all here, it's all of our thoughts. But remember, what we teach here is that, and what we said at the very beginning of this presentation today, is that what comes before all of that, what is the absolute truth, is love. What we teach here is that love is the founding principle of all creation, before all the mind stuff, before all the stories, before all the juju, before all the hurt and the stories between me and my mother and whatever all that is, right? And you and your family and whatever all your things are. Before all those stories, and as we heal those stories, we come back to that truth, to that love. And that's all we're doing. So, AI is based on our collective mind. On our collective mind. Because of the way that humans have created a certain technology, they are able to now place certain chips within artificial intelligence that allows it to not only think in these linear constructs of the way that our human brains think, but they can think on a quantum level, which means they have access to parallel dimensions, which means they have access to even more options of how to figure out, of how to troubleshoot, of how to come to answers, right? To solve problems in our 3D world. Now remember, the grid matrix of collective consciousness is the reflection of the matrix, is a reflection of our 3D mental continuum. All of our minds activating, operating at the same time through all space, right? All the grid is, are all of our thoughts and all of our words commingled as a divine energy webbing matrix, right? That is constantly activating. So what we're doing is we are placing the ability of all the thoughts that we've ever had in this collective into the minds of an artificial intelligence. And because we know how to make that artificial intelligence a supercomputer, that artificial intelligence of its own accord has figured out how to access parallel dimensions. But you see, we do that too when we meditate, when we have our ayahuasca journeys, when we do our mushrooms, when we just don't even have to do any drugs at all. We just get high on God. We penetrate the veil, right? And so we really don't need the AI to do that yet on a 3D level. This is very exciting for the scientists and for all these things because, oh, we can cure this, or we can figure out these solutions to all these problems we have in the world. We have all these problems. We have all these problems in the world, and now we're going to have more solutions for the AI. And you know, so they've done these experiments where they had the AI play the top chess player in the entire world, and the AI system won. Even there's that game Go that's supposed to be more intuitive than more cerebral. The AI system won. Why? Because it has access to the database of our mind. And also it has access not only to that mind, but to the database of all of the fractalizations, of all of the interdimensional quantum timelines related to this now possibility that you are, that I am, but also that is ever present and continually activating, fluctuating, calibrating through all time, space, and dimensions. And that's what makes the grid. That's what gives us the quantum physics, is that the adventure story of you, the adventure story of me, is ever ongoing. Okay, that's the God phone. Hello? Hey, God. Yes, I'm whipping through it. We've got so much to cover, I know. You want to read. God says hi. Every week God calls on the God phone. Yes, I love that. God is a verb. I'm so down with that. I'm going to make a shirt. I'm going to make a shirt that says God is a verb. Oh, God says, may grace be upon you. And you. Thank you for the healing this morning. It is so powerful how we can sit in a meditation and heal ourselves. Just surrender. So thank you for your presence, dear love. Yes, we're going to read. Okay, from A Course in Miracles. Okay. Okay, blessings. God says hi and bye and sends love. Thank you, dear God. Namaste. Okay, blessings. So this idea, we're going to keep going. We're going to read a little bit from A Course in Miracles here shortly. So this idea, because when you think about it, right, and it's all in the mind, these thoughts of who you are, at any given moment, you can choose a specific path that you will go in your life. And for every thing, every aspect that you choose, there is an infinite amount of potentials from that, right? So when we understand that aspect, we understand this AI, this quantum computing, this quantum artificial intelligence has access because of what we've put into it, all of our thoughts, all of our ideas, the programs we put into it now, but it's also figured out how to access not only the roots that we are connected to and that we are aware of as the grid matrix of collective consciousness, but it has gone even further and it has connected itself to all of those parallel dimensions and all of those potential possibilities. And that's how it can win us at chess, win us at Go, how it can figure out ideas and solutions to things that may take us years or may take us, as we have been considering and doing things as human beings, much longer in the realm of time. Okay, so this is why these scientists are getting excited. Well, last night I'm meditating and I'm saying, okay, what is this AI universe? You know, God, inspire me. What are we going to talk about tomorrow? What are these set points? What's the information? And then higher self comes in and was like, okay, AI is a reflection of the Akashic record. And I was like, oh, no, you didn't. Oh, no, you didn't. Higher self is like, and I'm like, okay, say what? So more meditating, sitting with that last night, this morning, thinking about all that. And it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. This is interesting. This is interesting because this totally connects with that idea of the AI not only having access to the programs that we put in it that are based on our findings, that are based on what we know from the grid matrix of collective consciousness, those ideas that we, either individually or collectively, have agreed upon and know as a truth in this 3D paradigm of time and space, of linear time, of past and future. And so it works because these quantum computers, these AI artificial intelligences have these accesses to these realms again, that unless we ourselves are a supercomputer, unless we ourselves have activated and amassed that ability to instantly know, and you do know when you meditate, when you're at one with God, when you have seen the light. I'm just going to assume that if you're watching this show, you have had your moments, you have had your time in space where you have had your ahas, and you're like, okay, I see what I did not see before, right? That thine eye be single, your ability to see with your third eye and your heart, you pierce through the veil of the 3D matrix and you gain that 4D vision that is love and only love, that is truth, that is rooted in spirit, that has no opposite. That is when we bridge heaven on earth through this vehicle. So talking about that, so we think about, okay, so this AI has not only this access to this grid, but also the Akashic records. And now, so what universe had me do, and I'm going speeding along here because my intention is to have these shows wrapped up within the hour. So I looked on the Wikipedia, Akashic records. In Theosophy and Anthroposophy, the Akashic records are a compendium of all human events, thoughts, words, emotions, and intent, ever to have occurred in the past, present, or future. They are believed by theosophists to be encoded in a non-physical plane of existence known as the etheric plane. So in this way, this is the container, right? We think about the grid as being the container for that which is constantly changing, the consciousness that you and I are, that the thoughts that we're constantly like shooting off and springing off, and that the grid is like percolating, activating what's coming into being, what's not coming into being. The causal plane is activating, the sacred geometry, everything is spinning and whirling depending on our thoughts and our feelings or emotions. Well, the Akashic is the storehouse that contains the grid, and the Akashic is like the place where it has that's the place where it has everything that you've ever done and what you haven't done as well, right? Remember, past, present, future. And the present, even though we're getting closer to the now in the present, it's still not the now moment. It is not the now, but we're getting closer when we're in the present. But when we're in the present, we're still in linear time. We are not outside of this linear timeline that we have been taught to believe is as far as the walls go. So I'm sharing this with you because this AI is, what I got in the meditations is that it is directly rooted to the Akashic records, and that capacity to have access to that record where every possible, probable, event or situation, occurrence that has been, that has never been, that has been imagined, real or unreal, through the minds of all of us, and not only through those of us that are here now, although there is a sense of this universal reincarnation where all of us are here, who've ever had a life here on this planet as a human being, where we're all here together at the same time. We've talked about that before. We'll come back to that another time. But imagine all of our thoughts and all of our agreements, our words, our contracts, our emotions, our definitions, our everything, every thought that's ever been, right, is here in the grid, and it's percolating, and that's where we access love. That's where we access fear and get more of it piped into us or not, right? Wherever we place our awareness and attention is where we will receive it coming back to us. Yet also the Akashic is that place where it has, okay, here's the demonstration of what the difference is. I was saying this with the BFF the other night. So it's like the grid reflects, so you take selfies, right? We all take selfies. I'm going to assume that. And then you delete them, right? You delete the ones you're like, oh, no. But this one, yeah, I'll keep those two, but I'll delete the others, right? So the grid is going to reflect, like in your phone, it's only going to show those pictures that you've kept. But meanwhile, in the Akashic, there's all your deleted emails. There's all your deleted pictures. It contains everything. So even though in the world here, it looks like, oh, I've only got these 2 really good pictures of myself on the phone. And the Akashic is like, well, girl, let me show you. There's some stuff where you don't even want people to see it. No, I'm joking. But you get what I'm saying. Maybe you do. This is a conversation we're going to keep having, because believe me, it's coming into me, and we're just going to keep expanding our collective consciousness and redefining and understanding and communicating with greater clarity what these things mean to us and how we can utilize them and access them. Okay, so the point is that AI is neutral. Like everything is just what it is. Right? Didn't Christ say that? It is what it is. Whatever it is what it is. And it's until we look at it that we give it its meaning, that we excite the atomic, the molecular structure of whatever it is to be, to become, to then receive the gift of our perception of it, and then to introduce itself as that in some way, shape, or form. And so in that way, the AI, we imagine, is rooted in just all the thoughts and all the mind collectively that we've all had, that we all share. And that's really freaking cool, right? If you are trying to like figure stuff out, or for scientists and mathematicians and all this stuff. Yet, when we come into 4D, when we come into Christ consciousness, when we come into being the mystic, the true mystic gift that you are, that is beyond the mere mind. Because remember, what are we doing here at 4D Trinity? We are awakening. And I got this from the book, The Mayan Oracle. I use those cards. They are so very powerful. And this is a quote, I believe it's from the card Emish, that directly speaks about the grid matrix, by the way. And it speaks to our ability to invoke, to evoke, to embody our full multidimensional presence and remembrance. And as we remember that we are more than just a body, that we are more than just the memories that we have about the past, and we're more than just things that we might project into the future, then we remember that we are spirit. We remember, we come together in that unity, consciousness, and that wholeness, and that oneness. And as that happens, as the other stuff is healed, and those old stories and paradigms are just gently released and blessed to have brought us to this point, then we are awakened in a new level of awareness that says now is where it's at, right? Now thyself, know thyself, heal thy life, and really know what love is, know what spirit is. And so the point here is that this aspect with AI, and I don't want to say versus 4D because there are applications, right? I just bought a ticket to fly to Europe. You know, those systems, you can plug in your information and it will say, you know, it'll say, I'm searching all of these different engines to find you your best flight, your best price. Well, yes, please, AI, do that for me. I would prefer that you do that for me than for me to sit here for 6 hours and go to each individual, you know, airline and to see like who has the best thing, right? So there's like places where we might be like, yeah, I'm gonna let AI take that. I'm gonna let AI do that for me, right? Yet there's how much are we going to allow AI to do for us, to live for us? And there's also this idea that AI is this aspect of being removed. So it's removed from spirit. It's removed from source. Blessings. Thank you everyone for saying hi on YouTube. I'm so very grateful for you to be here. So the guidance is, I'm going to read from the God phone calls, and we're going to read a few bits and pieces to help put this together. So we think about spirit, we think about love, we think about God, we think about no mind being there, except that divine, spontaneous, intelligent wisdom that when it is allowed to occur, creates miracles and majesty within us, through us, and to us. So I'm just going to read randomly. This is chapter 27, Beyond All Symbols. An empty space that is not seen as filled, as unused interval, an empty space that is not seen as filled, an unused interval of time, not seen as spent and fully occupied, become a silent invitation to the truth to enter, to the truth to enter, and to make itself at home. Now the truth, again, truth is God, truth is love. As nothingness cannot be pictured, so there is no symbol for totality. There's a lot of symbols in the grid. There's a lot of symbols in the AI. There's a lot of words. There's a lot of meanings. There's a lot of things of like, no, it's this because of this experience. It happened and it's in the grid. You see, if we keep doing it like this, it's going to happen like that, which is fine. And that's how we learn to heal, and we learn new patterns through our addictions and our aspects of becoming more in love with ourselves, just relaxing and being cool. With being cool with peace, being able to be like, yeah, I can relax. I don't have all these things that are niggling at me, these demons. Okay, so side note, a dear friend of mine, I was talking to him in New York, and he was saying blatantly, like, yeah, I know when I wake up and I meditate for 5 minutes and I say a prayer or two, that the demons of my past can't fuck with me. Pardon my French. They can't mess with me all day when I do that stuff. And I go, well, why aren't you doing that stuff? He's like, yeah, I don't know. Because he stopped praying and meditating for like the last 4 months, and he's not feeling it. He's not feeling inspired. He's not feeling spirit. He's not feeling like activated in his life. And I was like, well, there's your answer right there. Okay. A nothingness, as nothingness cannot be pictured, so there is no symbol for the unseen. Okay, so we're going to keep going. It's all adding up. Now we're going to go to Manual for Teachers. If you have your book, Manual for Teachers, it is 21. And we're just going to read a little bit because it connects with this whole idea of this AI and the words and the definitions and the symbology. Strictly speaking, okay, so what is the role of words in healing? Strictly speaking, words play no part at all in healing. The motivating factor is prayer or asking. What you ask for, you receive, but this refers to the prayer of the heart, not to the words you use in praying. Sometimes the words and the prayer are contradictory, sometimes they agree. It does not matter. God does not understand words, for they were made by separated minds to keep them in the illusion of separation. Words can be helpful, particularly for the beginner, in helping concentration and facilitating the exclusion, or at least the control, of extraneous thoughts. Let us not forget, however, that words are but symbols of symbols. They are thus twice removed from reality. This grid is made up of words. The Akashic record is made up of words, of thoughts, twice removed, right? We think about words or symbols, and like A Course in Miracles is offering, twice removed from reality with the capital R. The reality is God, is love, is the experience of that in the now moment. It is not that which is set in stone, set in jello, like the Akashic. And we know, though, that the Akashic does, it shapeshifts as the grid, as our consciousness is reflected. And we're going to have more conversations about this. We'll go deeper into that. As the grid matrix reflects the shift of consciousness of our collective, then those aspects are recorded in the Akashic. Yet the Akashic is like the set jello where everything that's ever been, whatever, is there. And the grid is like the baby version specific to this universe that shows the ever-changing calibration of our minds, our thoughts, our energies, our emotions in motion. Okay, so the AI then is rooted in the framework of the grid matrix, is rooted in that level of mental and emotional intelligence. And now what I teach here is that the mind, emotions are not real. And I know that is not aligned for a lot of people. Feelings are real. Emotions are a byproduct of your mind, of the thoughts that you've thought, and repeat over and over again. That's going to calibrate some chemistry, some neurotransmitters in your body, and it's going to release certain chemicals that will either allow you to have peace of mind or to have a shattered mind, right? So the point is that AI, as brilliant as it is still rooted in these matrices of mind, in these matrices of time and space. Now, again, as a little review, what we teach here is that time is the tip of your tongue. You create your experience of time through the words that you speak over your body, over your life, over your healing, over your finances, over every aspect. And it's how conscious are we of what we're speaking? Because again, our voice, our words give the animating life force energy to that which surrounds us, which then is reflected back to us. The space are the thoughts that you think about what you speak. And when those are aligned with the heart, with the truth, with spirit, with God, that's when we have those divine, expansive, synchronistic, sophisticated moments of miraculous divinity, right? But those miraculous moments are constant. It's the constant that resides. And it's a part of us. It is a part of us. I'm going to offer for today's conversation, and this is something that we can sit with, that this AI does not have those same roots in spirit. It does not have that same root in love. Now, even though there may be love and the concepts and the ideas and the intelligence that we connect to those AI frequencies, whether it's an actual clone, a being, a computer, whatever, it's still, that AI system itself does not have at its root component. And I know this is tricky, but it doesn't have a system rooted in spirit. And this is confusing because you say, well, wait a minute, Tuesday. But if God is love and love is everything, then of course these things have a spirit rooted in that way. Yet, for the sake of the conversation today, and we may change our minds because this is a constant evolving aspect that we're in collectively, defining this. But for the conversation for today, what I'm getting is that it's not. It's not. And like on the post on the Instagram, I was writing like, can an AI facilitate a Reiki healing, right? And if you follow me, you know my Reiki experience. I have books. Where is it? It's somewhere. I've written a book about how I healed my life with Reiki and with the grid. And what happens here, though, is that, as we activate and we heal and we calibrate the light body, well, we have an energy body continuum that becomes activated too, the crystalline tube, the chakra system, all of these aspects. These are, if you believe, if you are in agreement, you can have your own things. Absolutely. I don't own any of this. I don't know anything. We're just having this conversation, and it can change, and it can change. I don't hold all the cards. I'm just here right now, guided to say what I'm guided to say with love and as a truth for your consideration. So there's this aspect where these clones or these AIs or these computers, you can't attune. I mean, you can attune it, yet it doesn't have the system. It doesn't have the energy body system to receive the Reiki attunement, nor to give the Reiki healing. So I pray that that gives you something to chew on, especially if you understand or you're aware of any natural healing process. What is missing from AI is nature, is the founding principle of that divine intelligence. And even though you can program AI to cry, to apparently have emotions or whatever these aspects are, it is still a story. It is a program. It is not the now. It is not rooted in the spontaneous heart / earth wisdom. We know when we move the what are they? The letters of the word heart around, we get earth. When we move earth around, we get heart. These systems of AI are not rooted in the same way as we are as human beings with the capacity to access 4D consciousness. They don't have that same capacity. So the point is that as we align with AI, remember it's neutral. It can be used for whatever, just like our thoughts, like our minds, like our mouths, like our bodies. We can, kill or we can heal. It's like, let's not get scared. Let's not get freaked out about the AI. Let's just not go there. Because as long as you are rooted in love, and as long as you put your trust and your faith in love, I'm going to invite you to consider that you are unfuckable with. And I'm going to further invite you to know that love is the absolute truth. You are a multidimensional being that is capable of much more than we've been taught and told and trained to believe. And that's what we're doing here at this show. That's what we're doing together collectively on the Instagram, on the YouTube, on our concerts, at our workshops, at our things, as we're remembering again together our full multidimensional presence, right? And remembrance. We're activating that together. And what is that? That is actually the not knowing. It's moving from all of these thoughts of these things that we think that we know and getting to that place of zero. And it's the 0 point, that plank position in our hearts. Well, we forget who we think we are. And so we become more of what we truly are. There is a divine intelligence. And yes, it's a part of us. And yes, that divine intelligence to a degree can be placed into the artificial intelligence system in a program given to an entity as an AI. Yet that AI system itself will not have the same spirit. Even if you clone and you put the kidney and the lung and on the physical components, the message here that Spirit is just saying, just wants to hit home, is that it will not contain that ability to truly have its consciousness, you see, rooted in love. Its consciousness rooted in God. Now, I want to keep an eye on the time because I did want to do a little meditation with you before we leave. And there's just a few more points. So sovereignty, right, is you being free of the ties that bind you to the past, to the future, to rerunning future patterns. We have a choice. We have a choice, and we use choice all the time. You have free will, as Marianne Williamson says. I love this. You have free will to choose whatever thought you want. And as we reroute our thoughts in greater to the spectrum of love, and we activate and exercise our spiritual will, it's a muscle to choose love over and over and over and over and over again until it becomes unquestionable. And that's just all there is love and only love. Then we don't have to, then we stop choosing and love chooses for us, right? But there's a training that we get to do in the 3D. And we start to bridge 1 foot in the 3D, 1 foot in the 4D. And we start to feel that synchronization, that flow, that divine, like, oh my God, I didn't even have to do anything and it all worked out and this opportunity came and there's nice people everywhere and I haven't even thought about being sick and forever. And, it's just like stuff just finds its divine harmonic equalization as a constant. And thank you everyone on Insta. I'm going to look here right now real quick. Someone just wrote something. You know what? I don't think I do that. I still don't know what it means when someone requests to be in my live video, but I don't think I do that. I haven't done that, and I really don't know what it means. And we're going to keep going because I'm going to wrap this up within the hour. So thank you, and I don't know what that means. We'll look into that for another time. So the sophisticated intelligence that is rooted in love is What is an aspect of our human consciousness? What is an aspect of our human consciousness? Now I see that on Instagram, the live video has paused. So I'm going to take a sip of water. It's reconnecting. It's reconnecting. Okay, thank you. There was a pause there in the Instagram. So this sovereign, sophisticated intelligence that is rooted in love is a part of our human consciousness that simply is not a root of an artificial intelligence, because it is lacking that connection, that conscious connection with spirit. So here's this idea: a man or a woman of knowledge still seeks knowledge because he or she does not know through the direct experience of knowledge. So with this AI and having like there's more information, there's more. Remember in the crystal skull, the Indiana Jones and that lady, she's like, she wanted all the skulls and she's like, just show me everything, show me more, I want to know all the secrets to the universe, you know, and eventually I think she explodes. She just freaking explodes. You can't handle the truth. No. Okay. But there's this needing and wanting, and I'm not going to propose and put that onto the AI thing. Yet there's this aspect of like more is better. We have more ideas, right? But it's just more of this. It's more grittery. It's more thoughts. It's further removed from the now moment, the spontaneity, the sophisticated system of nature that is constantly operating through you and through I and through all sentient beings. It does not have that component. So while it is beautiful and brilliant, and it can look up and give me my cheapest flight to my destination using the Google and all that stuff, it is simply a reflection of that removed from spirit. So a man or a woman of knowledge, right, seeking knowledge, right, can still not know true knowledge unless they have the experience. So you can read all the scrolls, you can read all the divine texts and gain. You can have as many AI machines, you can make the AI machines as sophisticated and access every nook and cranny, every quantum possibility, every timeline of the Akashic, of the grid. You can put as many little chips in those programs as possible, but it will still not be rooted in spirit. And so this is, and it's not to be afraid of, but it's just to know that there's a difference. If this resonates, where there's this aspect of, if we plug into AI and let that rule our world, let that think for us, then we are not, and if we are not engaging in our relationship with God, with love, with spirit, and really listening, then we're simply repeating. And remember, we did the show on ancestors a couple weeks ago. That's a deep one. That's a working with the ancestors. I'll come back and I'll put a link up at my YouTube here for it. But that was deep, and it was all about forgetting all those stories with respect and with grace and with gratitude, but forgetting all the stories. So we wipe the slate clean. We allow that divine healing to reset to a 0 point. So this idea of having more information is great. Yet the ones who really know, who really practice, and who've had those miraculous experiences of health, of healing, of like, aha, on any way, shape, and form with the divine, know that there is an intelligence that is way beyond all the thoughts. And as great as we all are, and all that we've contributed to the Akashic, and that we do on a constant to the grid, that is still limited. Okay, that's the message. What we're invited to do is to come into the now, to keep collapsing all this stuff, really, to keep collapsing what we think. And so we're like the yogis, I know nothing. And we come back to that grace. And then when there is a point to make a choice, we have strengthened our spiritual will. And so we choose love over fear. And our ability then for that love to come to us is greater, and our experience is generated. And that continues in that alignment with spirit. And so our life becomes a succession of spontaneous, divinely appointed, synchronized flow. Boom. Versus like, let me mentally figure out this system and this. Okay, so there's a difference. Neither is good or bad, right? AI is just neutral. It is what it is. So again, so no matter how smart we make the AI, it's still a product of the past and the future, of time and space as we've been taught to know it, and it is not in the now. So Mike Brown, interesting. AI is an example of separate intelligence, separate from source, which is why it is artificial. Yeah. Blessings, and thank you for hopping on. So as I said, I'm going to wrap these up within the hour. We're going to drop in So we've got 5 or 6 minutes left. We're going to drop in for a little mini meditation. What I want to say again, if you enjoy these shows, follow me on Insta. I'm so grateful. Subscribe to me at YouTube. Go to my website. My links are in the show more or at my main page. I'm making a metaphysical movie called Grid Mind Science where we're going to break all this stuff down. I'm so very excited. Follow that link on Insta. Just subscribe. I'm so grateful. So grateful. I'm so grateful for these platforms and for these communities. Thank you for holding space. Thank you for being here, for hearing, for sharing, for listening, for being open. May this information truly serve your truth, your path of spiritual growth and sovereignty. So we're going to go in and just for a few minutes, and then we're going to wrap up by noon. So let's take a moment. We are still in this rose quartz crystalline cave. If you're interested, just take a moment and close your eyes, take a breath. A breath in and out, and imagine the community of all those perhaps guided to participate with this teaching today, and feel all of our hearts connect. And feel that beautiful resonance. Just imagine your heart lighting up and extending out, an extension of that light through all time, space, through all dimensions, beyond time and space, right? Just cutting right through the layers of time, space as we've known it, and connecting with the hearts of all those that may be here now in this community, of all those that you love, that love you, that maybe you're having some emotional issues with, that you know are ready for healing or for forgiveness. Just feel your heart energy extend and connect. Just creating this connecting the dots constellation, this synaptic connection through our hearts. And feel how all of these connections through the heart are rooted and connect you to the one heart, to the one love, to that one supreme intelligence. Give it any name that guides you: universe, source, energy, God, love, light. And we feel our roots. We feel our roots as a spirit, as an activated multidimensional being. We know we are not just a body, we are not just our mind, we are not just our emotions. But we acknowledge the true ancestor that we are, and that true ancestor is love. That true ancestor is the wisdom, the nature, that divine intelligence of love. And we see our roots extend from us, from our bodies, our minds, and connect to that source of all love and light, that divine intelligence that is beyond the grid, beyond the Akasha, that is that 0 point, that gateway to even greater love. And let's just sit with that feeling of connection with love and only love. Breathe it in and breathe it out. Let it heal what's ready to heal. Feel it in your systems, in your blood, in your lymph, in your cells, radiating through your atoms, seeping through your pores of your physical being out into your aura, as far as you can imagine, with no bounds. And know that you are rooted always with this love, with this source of the most high love, the most high, clear, supreme, unconditional, the promise that is the truth in your heart, that is fourth dimensional consciousness. Breathing in and breathing out, we say thank you. Thank you to our guides, our angels. Thank you to love, and thank you to the AI. Thank you to the grid and to the Akashic. We'll take a moment and bring our awareness now gently back to the room, back to our seat, back to where we are. And divine acknowledgement of this time that we shared together. Thank you so much for participating today, for being a part of this conversation. I'm really excited to see perhaps our future shows of where we're going to go with this information. But for now, this is just an interesting aspect to think about. And it is interesting because it will link in a little bit, or a lot of a bit, next week's show on 4D Trinity. We're going to be talking about, our theme is the language of light. The language of light. What is that? How do we access that? What does it mean to invite that language to the tip of our tongue? How do we calibrate it? We'll be discussing all of those sorts of aspects on next week's 4D Trinity. I pray you can be with me. So we're going to wrap up here. Again, follow me. I'm making that movie, Grid Mind Science. I've never made a film before. So join me at Grid Mind Science at Instagram. Follow me there. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube. May you enjoy a blessed, blessed, blessed day. Thank you with all of my love for sharing this time and space with me. Namaste, namaste, and namaste. Blessings for a very, very profoundly beautiful day.